Welcome to SLP-Tea, the podcast where we spill the tea on all things speech language pathology. We're here to share real stories from real SLPs across the field and maybe help you find the path that feels most like you. Today, we are joined by a new mom, AAC specialist, and a business owner. Welcome, Gabriella.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Of course, thank you so much for joining us. Quick round of applause for Gabriella. Thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us on the podcast. We're so excited to have you on, and you've got such an inspiring story. So I'm really glad to share that.
And James, I want to thank you first off for having me. I'm so excited to be your first on your first episode. And then
Cheers.
for mentioning, oh yeah, I got my coffee. Hold on. You for mentioning my little boy. I
That's
had my
right.
4 weeks ago, so I'm currently on my modified maternity leave here, but I'm really excited to be here and kind of take a step away from mom life to focus back on my other passion.
Let's give the people some background. None of us were born SLPs. How did you find the field?
Yeah, so I mean, when I was considering speech language pathology, I thought of more of like my speech, quote unquote, speech therapist in my
Right.
elementary school that would take kids from my classroom and help them with their articulation. I didn't really understand, like many of us, like the different levels and like where this career can actually take you. So I wasn't really considering speech until I came across this article. It was from Michigan State, and I came across this voice therapist who wrote an article, and I don't remember the name of it now, but it kind of just opened up my eyes of like, wow, you can be a speech therapist and focus on something aside from articulation. Like,
That's right.
yeah. And then I got really interested in voice therapy. So that's when I changed my major because I wanted to actually focus more on the voice. Having a strong background and passion in singing kind of like brought me wanting to help other singers and helping perfect the voice.
Right. That's a super unique path. Coming into voice really catching your eye first. But as a singer, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so that was the weird thing because going into grad school, I was the one of two that had a passion for voice in my cohort.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then when we were in there, I was, like, learning everything else, and, like, voice is so niche, like, there's it's just one small area of our field, so,
Right.
I learned a lot more in grad school that opened my eyes to what more the field can kind of do for us.
Awesome. Yeah. And do for others. Yeah, exactly.
Or
Awesome. So let's discuss a bit about your professional journey. So you just got out of grad school, you're a new CF, fresh out of college. How did that process go for you? What was your first step? Was it to work on voice?
ideally, yes, it would have been to do
Okay.
voice. Now I quickly learned that it's very tough, it's tough to jump right in as a CF for strictly voice therapy.
Exactly.
I tried my best. Like I contacted different specialists local to the area. And my cohort, I graduated from Stockton University, shout out.
Shout out
But my
Stockton.
clinical director was wonderful, and she knew that I wanted to like specialize in voice. So she actually gave me a great opportunity, and I got to follow one of the only voice therapists in South Jersey. Um,
Wow.
so that was my externship. Like, I was still in grad school, got to have this strong experience in voice therapy, had a really heavy caseload with it, which was what I always wanted. But then I found the hardest part was graduating, and now what? Like, where am I gonna go? There's really not many clinical externships out there specifically for that one thing, unless I wanted to move or relocate out of state or to a different city. So that aside, so I didn't get to do voice right away. I did eventually get there, which we can talk about. But I had a really awesome opportunity with my clinical fellowship year, working
Okay.
in private practice, and that kind
Uh,
of took me in every direction I could think of as a clinician. So that was my first step.
right. So you started in a private practice, which is really cool. I also worked in a private practice in grad school, so we've kind of got a little bit in common there. What
Yeah.
did that private practice focus on?
So it was an assistive technology and AAC consulting practice.
Oh, okay.
So I did not know too much about AAC at the time, but I did know that this particular private practice was also just looking for speech therapists to go into maybe a school setting or wherever the need was. And we kind of got to go to that particular environment and practice there. Um, it's more of like a contracting role if you think about it, like
Right.
school district would hire this practice and I would go in as their speech therapist.
What are some of the pros and cons of contracting? I know a lot of people are probably sitting here kind of resonating with their first job out of college could be a contracting job. What does that look like for you? Pros and cons.
Pros and cons. I loved it because it gave me a little taste of everything. Like the
Right.
particular practice that I worked for gave me the opportunity to not only work in a school, but maybe next year I would be able to go and do clinical work. So because there was also a clinic involved in that private practice. So I did a school-based role for about a year. We could talk about the pros and cons of that, and then I went to
Yeah.
clinical setting. And then AAC consulting. So all this time, I was learning assistive technology and AAC because I find that that's also and we'll talk about, like, the specializing piece of things, but it's really to consider yourself a specialist if there's no certification or steps to take, like, there's no book to read on how to become, specialized in any area of our field. So I found that working for this practice gave me the opportunity to do it all while also working on becoming specialized in one particular thing, which did end up being AAC in the long run. Because the voice therapy I kind of just did on my own. I taught myself. I went in. I got to do voice therapy clinically, which was a dream. I realized that it wasn't as in high demand. So clinically speaking, I would get maybe 3 clients for voice therapy, but then I had to fill my schedule with early intervention, language, adult, everything under the sun, really.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people probably resonate with this because we all came into this field for a certain reason, and then the field, kind of like a river, took us down its own way and its own path, and we found ourselves in environment that we never probably assumed we'd been in. You went from voice as a singer and are now working with AAC, probably assumingly with a lot of people who are nonverbal individuals. Uh,
Just like
so that
it. Like you're
yeah, yeah,
putting the voice in one scenario, and then I'm working with individuals with minimal vocal abilities. So it's
right.
I love it. I love the contrast. I love our field
Yeah,
reason. But as a new clinician, especially, I felt a lot of pressure to be the best at everything. You're getting a caseload, like you're just saying yes to anybody that comes in. So I'm helping little ones, maybe 2, 3 years old, with a language delay. But then my next client might be an adult with aphasia. And then
yes,
my
yes,
next one is an AAC user. So I loved that because it did keep me on my toes and I got to study up on everything, really try to utilize everything you learn in grad school. But I also felt that it was really a con for me in the long run because I just wanted to be really good, right, at every single thing and to give my
right,
all to every single client. And I felt that I couldn't do that unless I picked one area that I was very passionate about and stuck with and really got to learn the ins and outs of that one particular thing. Yeah, I think that, like, a lot of people can relate to that. Um,
100%. I know I can. My
yeah.
current caseload, I have, and I'll share, I have kids who we work on are TIC, and then I have kids who are nonverbal, and we work with different AAC devices and everything in between. So last year, it was overwhelming for me because I felt like I wasn't able to give myself fully to the art TIC kids because I was learning so much new on the AAC side of things,
Mm,
and even vice versa, that I felt like it would just be easier to pick one and just really focus on it.
mhm.
Um, and I think in the future I will go down that path, probably and specialize in something. But really, what it did for you probably is give you so much experience. Like you said, like now you have a lot of great experience, and now you know what you do like working with more, and what you probably would rather work with less. So
Again, coming out of school, if we're talking to, like, particular, like, new clinicians, that's stressful because you think,
right,
like
right.
I mention a lot imposter syndrome, like, I thought I wasn't
Uh,
enough, like, maybe I should refer out for certain caseloads, but if you didn't like, I just look back, and if I didn't put myself in those situations, that I wouldn't first off, I wouldn't be where I am now because I never would have thought that I would have taken the assistive technology route just because of the lack of education in college. I didn't feel like we had a time to learn about AAC. I was fortunate enough because our program had a semester in it, so I got to learn a lot. Um,
Mhm.
but it still wasn't the route that I thought that I was going to take. It took the experience that having the clients come in and really feeling like you made a difference that made me want to pursue it more.
Yeah, I totally get that. 100%. Are there any other professional, maybe developments that you went through that were kinda eye-opening for you?
I mean, again, a lot of it was just hands-on experience. Like, I the best professional development that you can get, um,
Right.
as far as, like, doing your own research. So if you are passionate about something, whatever area of this field that it may be, it's hard enough to come home. I know you're exhausted to wanna study up and, like, look in more, but with AAC especially, like, I needed to do the research on my own time, like and you're throwing yourself into these tricky situations, like, AAC evaluations in and of themselves are very in-depth, and you don't get to learn too much about that. Uh,
Yes,
so
definitely.
just kinda thrown into the trenches. It's awesome too if you have somebody that's in that area of specialty that you can kind of observe or hang out with every now and then and ask them your questions. And then hopefully you get some answers and do your own research to get there.
I relate to all of those things that you just said. One, having someone to bounce ideas off of. My fiance is also a speech pathologist, so
Yeah.
it's so cool to be able to, bounce ideas off of her, which has really helped me. But then also, um, working outside of the hours of a typical 9 to 5 on things that you're passionate about. I've been trying to tell myself that if I am working outside of the typical, I should say 8 to 3:30 if you're working in a school, or 9 to 5 maybe if you're in a hospital, but finding something that really gives you energy to work on instead of something that like takes a lot of my energy. So whatever that gives me the most energy is something that I'm gonna actually be more receptive to learning about, and it's something that doesn't feel like more work. So whenever I try to do more learning outside of work, I try to make it um, be as much fun for myself as possible. And maybe that was AAC for you. And I think that's like a really good internal sign of what you're passionate in. Because I think a lot of people just don't know their passion yet.
Yeah, and you might not know your passion, until, again, like, you're in the situation, like, it might be super
Right.
eye-opening for you. Like, for the voice route, I was innately passionate about it because of my background in singing, but AAC was something that I needed to clinically throw myself into that scenario and see how much of a difference it can make in anyone's lives that are utilizing, a multimodal use of communication. I
Right.
that was what drives me. And that's why I love this job so much because I love being specialized in AAC. Like, it is not your textbook black and white day to day. It is very go with the flow, think outside the box. I like that there's not so much structure and I get to really like work with each client individually and focus on what they need to make a difference in their individual life, not just like a textbook definition of how I should be doing things.
Yeah. And for some, there's a huge impact there for them, right? Like a lot of, probably your patients, were minimally verbal or nonverbal, and now you're giving them, the ability to express themselves through an AAC device, and that's a huge impact. I'm just assuming, so feel
You
free to.
do, but
Yeah, I do, but feel free to expand if you have any cases that, like, come to mind, that you wanna share, would be amazing.
yeah, I think the number one that comes to mind, like, that my face just lit up because there's one
Yeah.
client when I was working in the clinical setting. So, mind you, this is where I was not as experienced and not sure what route I wanted to take as far as specializing, but one particular adult client. Now, right now, I
Mhm.
don't have many adults. A lot of the I say students because I work a lot with students that are in school. Um, but, this particular individual was a client of mine at a clinic, and it was an adult with aphasia, and he lost his ability to verbally communicate. And that is just the that is, like, the saddest for me, like, when you're communicating all your life a particular type of way and all of a sudden that's stripped from you. So, it was one of my first ever AAC cases, and I was able to
Okay.
acquire a device for this particular client and just kinda worked with him from the ground up. Like, first accepting, like, make accepting the fact that, because we were working a lot on melodic intonation therapy, trying to really get some kind of verbal, and it was a lot. It was a lot. It was an emotional journey for that particular individual. But once we got there and we got the technology, he cried in our session, like tears of joy. And that's what I needed to see, I think, to really make me excited. I'm like, oh wow, I think this is what I want to look into. Um, which is crazy because technology still scares me to this day. Like, I'm not, like, the biggest tech person, but when it comes to using it as a tool to support someone's communication, I think it's a game changer. So,
Absolutely. And if you don't mind sharing, what type of technology would you use for him? What was the game changer for him?
for that particular individual, yeah, we would go through insurance to acquire
Yeah,
a dedicated device, with
perfect.
a specific language system, and yeah, we could talk further on language systems if you want to, but yeah, it was, oh gosh, what did we end up getting for him? This is years ago. It's like my first year. I think I might still been a clinical fellow. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so I wanna say it was a touch chat.
Huh?
He was on
Okay.
touch chat with a device from PRC. My personal journey going to AAC was also scary for me because of that piece, the insurance funding.
Yeah.
The steps that it takes, how to write an evaluation. I never got training on any of that, so I think a lot of time was dedicated to perfecting the logistics and, like, what we actually have to do to get a device acquired. That it was scary in the beginning, but then you get more experience as you go, and the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Absolutely. So, Gabriella, you've had such a diverse experience in such a short amount of time coming out of college. How did you find yourself as a business owner running AAC and Me?
Yeah, so I had a lot of experience with assistive technology and AAC with my previous practice. I was
Right.
with them for about 7 or 8 years, and over that course of time, I was able to be confident enough in AAC and assistive tech, so conducting consultations, coaching sessions, doing AAC and assistive technology evaluations, and I was doing that over the course of those 7 to 8 years. In November of 2023, it was a busy year. It was a busy month, so that was the time when I got married in the beginning of the month. Lost my job 2 weeks later. And we had also bought our home. So we had
Wow.
a lot of big adulting things happening at the time.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
But yeah, losing the job was like the biggest one. So that kind of took me to where I am today and opening my own private practice. Like, again, it kind of was a course that I wanted to take later in life, like, not now, definitely not now, but I always thought that I would own my own business maybe, when the kids are older or when I'm in my 40s or 50s or whatever. There was always an excuse. But I think that, having things turned out the way they did and everything that happened over the course of that month really gave me the push that I needed to make that happen, to really open my own and trust in myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from what I just heard, you took all of these major life events, not only, getting married and committing yourself to someone, and then buying a house with that person, having that financial obligation, and then losing your income, and then from that to be your pivot point into starting your career and starting your business as an AAC consultant. That's amazing. Kudos to you for betting on yourself in that way. That's really, really cool, and inspiring to me. If you can do it from that position, you can do it from any position.
Right, like starting from the ground up.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Definitely scary, but it was the route that you needed to take. I kinda knew, and for any, like, CFYs out there listening or any, like, grad students, s finding a job was actually an easy thing. Like when I lost my job in November, I was able so many opportunities came my way. So I want people to know like you can it's our field's in high demand. It's a great
Right.
field. It's we always in need speech therapists. So it wasn't the fact that there wasn't opportunities out there. I actually had like 5 opportunities come right at me, maybe like 2 to 3 days after I had lost my job.
Wow.
So, there's variety and there's choices that you have to make, and I just wanted to take the time to really dive into this business and see what I could do. And if it wasn't for me, then I could always go somewhere else. I just knew that I didn't want to, for example, work for a school district and be on that schedule. Um,
Right.
I really wanted to kind of put all my eggs in this one basket. Um, I know like early intervention was something I was deeply considering and I was about to start. But then as I was forming my schedule with early intervention, I was like, I kind of want to dedicate more of my time to AAC and me and really again putting my eggs all in one basket, like doing it all and going hard and just seeing where it could get.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess where has it gotten you? I think this is an incredible transition. What are you doing now? What type of work have you been doing and what does that look like?
Yeah. So AAC and me, we are specialized in augmentative and alternative communication and assistive
Right.
technology. So assistive technology, in a sense, in the academic setting. So that's for students, and this is something you don't learn in grad school. But
Yeah.
as a speech language pathologist, you could complete assistive tech evals for students that might be struggling with reading or writing weaknesses.
Right.
You learn all these cool tools in the technology world that can easily be implemented in the academic like curriculum to support that particular student. I knew nothing about assistive technology because that's just something that you don't really learn about in school in general. Like, yes, we talk about AAC, but that's under the umbrella of assistive tech. So
Right.
it was really cool. I had the opportunity to do assistive tech evals in my previous practice as well. So I had the experience. So it's just something that I offer to the school districts that I work with. Um, but essentially, AACME contracts with school districts in New Jersey or PA. Uh,
Okay.
and we get to go out mainly completing their evaluations for them. I mean, SLPs in general are so overworked and have so much going on in their caseload that
Right.
you like to take on AAC evaluations on top of what they're already doing is just a lot. um, I find that that's the number one concern I get is like, we don't have time to do this. I don't feel confident in this. And I felt that over the 8 years that I've been doing AAC, I became confident enough to go out there, conduct evaluations, and more importantly, do coaching to get everybody more confident. So I'm a big, I'm very into the coaching model when implementing AAC and educating parents, like parent education. So there's so much that goes into like what we can do. So I find that that's one of the most rewarding things is coaching and speaking to parents of children who require AAC.
Yeah, I love that. I think, like you said, SLPs, there is a shortage, and there's a shortage of time that people have if you are working in a school. So sometimes they don't get to that parent coaching and that parent consultation because their caseload's already booked. And the fact that can do that in such a way and provide that service is really, really cool. And I'm sure the parents are so fortunate to have that because we're the experts and sharing that with a parent who just sees things through the parent view can be very eye-opening. So that's something that I found myself working with AAC users is that parent coaching can go such a long way and make such a big difference because
Yes.
we're only there working with the student who uses AAC for what, an hour a week, but they're with them most of the day. So if we can train them, it just gives the student so much more access to that technology that we would never be able to provide by ourselves.
Yeah. No, for sure. That's
Yeah,
like an area that I'm so passionate about is the parent education and just the
100%.
in general, like if you're going into a school setting and then there's an SLP that has you're the jack of all trades there, you're their specialist in that particular school. So your
Right.
caseload is everything. When they can be expected to be specialized in AAC. So when you have an AAC coach or consultant come in and work with the SLP, I feel I feel like I'm really making a difference there too, because I'm helping
100%.
with their caseload and their stress, and I get them excited about it again. And like I just find that part really rewarding too.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can totally see how that would be very rewarding. I want to get into a little bit about what starting your own business looks like. It's a very daunting thing to start your own business. How does that look for you when you first started?
Chaotic. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you don't really know where to begin. I mean, I will tell you, I thought of the name of my private practice in the for the next day. It was I mean, for me, I was in survival mode. It was like, I need to get this done because I need an income. Like, I'm not gonna accept the fact that I'm not gonna get a paycheck. So I really needed to get this up and running rather quickly. So I was able to open AAC Me in just a couple weeks. Like a lot goes into starting your own business, obviously, from the logistics of getting your business license and insurance, like all the stuff that as an SLP, like we're not thrilled to talk about. Like we're ready to go in and have productive sessions and meet people, but on the back end, you're doing a lot of researching, like with with working with the states and making sure that everything's in line there. Like you have to do a lot of business and administration work. Um, so once that was done, we got to the fun stuff, and I was able to contract with so many school districts, primarily in New Jersey right now. So I went from in my early days working with 6 school districts to now almost 40.
Wow, congratulations.
So it was like really cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I was the only clinician. And the exciting thing is now, because of the baby, I mean, some good things came out of that, aside from him being horrible and me being a mom. We were like, I was able to grow my practice as well. So I hired 4 wonderful clinicians that are super passionate about AAC, and they have been taking on the caseload while I've been home with my baby. But I think, like, that was such an exciting thing for me to see too, is like, wow, I was able to build this from the ground up. Like you start small and then you just grow and you give yourself grace and patience to get to where we are now.
Right, and it can't all be super easy breezy. I know that we're looking back on it and showing all the positives and how everything turned out so well, but what are some of the struggles that you still face or have faced?
I think, e especially anywhere in our field maybe or anyone nowadays, but I mentioned the word imposter syndrome before. Um,
Okay.
I find that, especially as a business owner and jumping into it as quickly as I did, I will constantly ask myself, like, "Am I doing things correctly? Is this the right way to do it?" Eh, Not to say, like, am I good enough? Because I don't want anyone to ever feel like they're not good enough. I mean, you're in a helping profession and you are helping everybody you are working with. And we will go above and beyond, and I'm speaking on behalf of, like, all speech language pathologists, I find.
Right.
Like, we will go above and beyond for our clients. But, yeah, I think everybody kind of experiences this day and age, like, that self-doubt, every now and then, and I think that just needs to be openly discussed a bit more in our everyday. It's okay to feel like I might not be the best at my game, but for the most part, like you just become better and better as the day goes on and as the days go by. And now, because looking back, even when I first opened my practice, it's been almost 2 years, but if you reflect on your strength and your growth, then that I think that speaks way more volumes than that little whisper of self-doubt in your head.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. I think I relate to that as well. I think having that little bit of self-doubt is what pushes us to learn more. And if we didn't have that self-doubt and if we thought to ourselves, "Oh, I'm perfect. I'm doing this and this is just going so well. This is 100% what you should be doing." Then we would never grow. Why would we ever grow? So I do think, having that little voice in your head of self-doubt, like, "Is this the right way to do things? Is this the gold standard? Is this am I giving my best to my student, my patient, whoever it might be?"
Mhm.
It's not the best feeling, but it causes a really good outcome, which is growth, right? So
To my SLPs about that too, like the ones that I work
okay,
on a coaching model,
okay,
they always speak to that imposter syndrome because, I don't have the time to really specialize in AAC. Am I doing my best for this particular client or student? And I just go in there and tell them the same thing. I mean, AAC is not black and white. We don't have to have specialists behind our name to be good at what we do. Um, so I think like that going in and acknowledging the fact that we all think that we can't necessarily be the best just actually helps you become better and better, if that makes sense.
100%, 100% it makes sense. Yeah, exactly, and I think the learning that comes with being an SLP absolutely does not stop after you get your degree.
Oh,
Um,
no. I learned
I
so much more outside of grad school. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Just applying yourself and seeing what the real world looks like and all the things that come with it are what make us even better clinicians. It's what makes better outcomes for our students and kind of that like that will to learn and will to improve and never being complacent with where we're at right now is what's gonna produce the best outcomes. So it's a good thing. I think a lot of people relate to that. And nobody's perfect.
Thanks for listening to part one. Continue for part two.